conversation. Brent and Big B, welcome to Freedom Friday.
Hey, thank you for having me today.
Yeah, man. Where are you calling from today? Alaska? I mean, every time you call, you're from some different area.
No, we're actually in the great state of Tennessee today.
Okay, well, see, I was right. So it's Tennessee, it's Missouri, it's Alabama, it's Texas, it's Guatemala, it's Chicago. You've called from Chicago before. So today you're in Tennessee. What part of Tennessee? We've got a lot of listeners in Tennessee.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Totally off subject of what we want to talk about, but I'm just outside of Memphis today, and I actually work around the Memphis area quite a bit. But this goes hand in hand with something we talked about last week about how, this whole media deal of race baiting and this perceived idea that the media and even the powers that be right up to the White House want people to have, that if you're a black man, that every white man hates you. And, here's the thing. Memphis, Tennessee has some deep, deep, deep racial scars.
Yes, they do.
Because this was one of the hotbeds during the civil rights movement of racial tensions and racial hatred and real racism. This is where Martin Luther King was assassinated.
That's right.
Was in Memphis, which, by the way, do your homework, folks. 1999 congressional hearings found that our government was complicit in the assassination of Dr. King. Whole other show. But bottom line is this. We work in and around Memphis a lot, and a lot of times in some of the suburbs. And it's just amazing that, I go into businesses here that in very obviously predominantly black communities and be the only white person in there doing business. And it's no different than I'm in my own hometown.
Yeah.
My point is this. Our country is not on fire racially.
Yes, I know. Folks are folks. That's what you and I have been saying.
There is not a race war going on in our country yet.
I know. Not yet. The government wants it to be. That's right. The government and their operatives, they want it to be. But folks are folks. I bet you and I have been saying this for years. Black folks, white folks, Hispanic folks, Asian folks.
They just want to make a living and go home and hang out with their families.
That's right. And we want our kids to get a good education, and we want them to have good jobs, and we want to just go home and grill on the grill and whatever we're going to do and leave us alone. Get out of our business.
Yeah. So, again, that's not what the subject of what we really want to talk about here today, but I just want to make that point.
Yeah.
How is it that I can be in Memphis, Tennessee, just as white as can be, in predominantly black areas of Memphis, a town that is just still filled with racial tension? It is.
Yeah.
And just move in and about these communities and do business in some of these businesses and in and out of these places and never have a moment's trouble. Why is that?
I know.
It is because I don't hate people because of their skin color, and the majority of folks out there don't hate people because of their skin color.
Right. No, that's right.
To quote Dr. King, you judge a man by the content of his character.
And I was going to say, plus you have an anointing over you because you are a child of God, and people sense that. I can't tell you how many times I've just been in a conversation speaking with someone. They don't have a clue who I am. They don't know I'm a media personality. They don't know I'm a preacher, just talking. And then I can't tell you how many times they've said, "You're a believer, aren't you?" And how'd you know that? I could just sense it. And, and you have that same gift, and other people do who belong to the Lord. And so that's a big deal. I mean, because we're not haters. We don't walk around with this angry look on our face. You see these liberals on TV? Every one of them look like they could bite your head off for the next word they say.
Because they're miserable. They're miserable. Yeah. and some of them, some of them, you're staring a demon in the face.
I know. Yeah. I've pointed that out before. Oh, my gosh. Don't even want to go there. Speaking of demons staring us in our face, what about Russia sending troops and jets to Syria now?
Well, isn't it amazing? Because I know, obviously, you said that probably in referring to Putin as you threw Russia in there. But, isn't it amazing that, again, that at least from the surface appearance, that it looks like we see Russia on the right side of things?
Yeah.
And listen, I don't know the intimate details of what's going on in Syria. All we have to base it off of is reports that we're getting from the other side of the world.
Right.
But just think about this. Our government, the United States government, is 100% complicit and does not try to hide the fact that they want to topple the Syrian government. They want Bashar al-Assad out of office and are supporting people that are linked to Al-Qaeda and ISIS to make that happen. Now, does that sound like the things of fairy tales or what?
Yeah, it does.
The very reasons that you and I have to go through a body scanner at the airport, and you know, let me just stop there before I go too far.
You're talking about a medical. You're talking about a medical exam.
Yeah, a medical exam, a proctology exam at the airport.
Yes,
because of Al Qaeda and ISIS, but yet our government is completely open about the fact that they're supporting. John McCain goes and brags about having lunch with these people.
I'm telling you. My doctor told me the other day it was time for a colonoscopy. I said, "Where should I get it?" He said, "You can go to the hospital."
Did you tell him you fly a lot? I just had one last week.
I know. He said, "I know." I said, "Where should I get it done? What hospital?" He said, "Well, you can get it done this hospital, or you can just go down to the airport. They'll give you one."
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And. Same thing.
No,
unless you're wearing a turban and your last name is Ahmed, then they just flag you right on through. But anyway, that's another story. But go ahead.
No, it is. But you know, here's the thing. Look, this week we have credible reports now. We know Russia has set up camp in Syria, and guess who they're siding with? The Syrian government.
Yeah.
The elected Syrian government. Now, I don't pretend that Assad is a great man or anything. You know, I mean, obviously he's a dictator and he's done evil things. But every regime that we have gone in and toppled, starting with Saddam Hussein under George W. Bush, conditions have, the great Christian George W. Bush. Every regime that the United States has gone in and toppled in the Middle East since that time, things have gotten worse, and they have particularly gotten worse for who? For Christians.
Yeah, and you know what?
In that area.
And I happen to think it's all prophetic. In my book, Final Warning, and you know this, I tie where we are now all the way back to Saddam Hussein and the Gulf War. And not only me, but I quote as references the New York Times, National Geographic, the Washington Post. They all agree with me that where we are now started with Saddam Hussein in the Gulf War, and they tie it back. Now, of course, they don't make any biblical inferences from it, but I do, because there are a lot of biblical inferences. But I'm telling you, right along the Euphrates River, Turkey, Lebanon,
here we go.
Syria, Iraq, and here we are, Israel surrounded by enemies. I mean, you know, and now Russia is involved, troops, jets in Syria, China putting ships over in Alaska just 100 and something miles off our coast. I mean,
well, and that's what I was going to, the broader point here is this. You and I have documented, Mike Shoesmith and I have documented these rise of these nations that seem to be pointed to in the Bible. Russia and China, you know, this imagery of the dragon and the bear in different prophetic scriptures. And here we see these things happening. And if you look at the people that Putin has met with in the last week, the leader of Egypt, the leader of Saudi Arabia, the leader of Jordan, the leader of a couple of North African nations. Right. And now they have boots on the ground in Syria. They're siding with Iran. You know, I mean, Iran is an ally of Russia, so to speak. So what I'm saying is this. The nations are aligning. You know, now, Russia may not be dropping bombs on Israel right now, but I'm telling you that the chips are falling into place for all of these countries, all of these nations that were foretold to us thousands of years ago would come together in the last days to form this coalition against Israel and look like they're going to wipe her off the face of the earth. And what is the exact word that Iran is using right now? Yeah. To destroy Israel, to annihilate her, to cause her to cease to exist. Yeah. I mean, just prophetic biblical terms that the leaders of Iran, and here we have, again, the United States government, the liar-in-chief, the lawless one, the man of lawlessness, the man from nowhere, parading around saying that if this Iran deal is the only way to prevent a nuclear war in the Middle East, it's the only way to prevent war between Iran and Israel, yet every other world leader is saying the exact opposite. Yep. Now, does that make him the supreme being and have all knowledge, or does that make him just a liar again?
Right, right. Well, there you go. And and you're right, because Iran is saying, I mean, it was just in headline mainstream media
It's in
news.
Drudge every day. I guarantee
Yes.
you I can pull up Drudge and show you quotes from them right now that are saying that.
We are going to annihilate Israel. And folks, please hear us. This is written in Ezekiel chapter 38.
Yes.
It opens by saying that there will be an alignment of nations that will come against a returned Israel in the last days. We're the only and first generation in 2,500 years to see Israel return. So there it is now. And it says the leaders of this will be a Gog and Magog, and a lot of people think that's Russia, and it can also be tied into Turkey because the original tribes of Magog and Beth Togarmah and all the others that are listed there, they came from Turkey. They started in Turkey, and a lot of them migrated up into the Stan nations, including Russia, all from the north country, directly north of Israel. And Ezekiel 38 says that they will be in alignment with Persia. And the modern day name for Persia is Iran. 90% of the people in Iran are Persians, and they speak the Persian language. That's Persia. And so,
listen, I just pulled up Drudge while you're talking.
Yeah.
The left-hand column, about halfway down, there's 4 headlines that talk about Iran. Iran thumbs nose at USA even as Obama rallies support for nuke deal. Headline number 2, spends billions every year to pay terrorist salaries. Number 3, commander of Iran. We're getting prepared to overthrow Israel.
Number 4, we welcome war.
So you're looking at Drudge also.
Yeah, I'm looking at it with you. Yeah.
I mean, that's my point. Every day, those kind of statements are coming out of Iran, and just look at the countries that you see aligning themselves with Iran.
Yeah.
And it's the exact nations you just talked about.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I think one of the keys, and you and I said this about a year ago on Freedom Friday, is some of these North African countries.
Yeah.
That are now falling into the mix, that have literally just been third world countries sitting over there forgotten about for 1,000 years.
Right.
And now they're in headline news.
The vast majority of pulpits are not addressing the things you hear right here on Freedom Friday, and the things I preach about in my pulpit, and other pastors are, but the majority aren't. And so our freedoms are dwindling away. God's hand of protection is dwindling off of us. We've been watching that happen. I mean, Brandon and I were just talking a moment ago. Brandon, I know you're on you're on now. You're on live. We were talking a moment ago offline. I mean, cops are getting killed. People are calling for the killing of cops and killing of white people. I mean, these idiots, these provocateurs, attempted murder of cops. A Christian woman, for the first time in the history of America, we have a Christian woman locked in jail tonight because she believes marriage is between a man and a woman. A financial system that economic experts are predicting is on the verge of collapse. I'm not making that prediction. I don't know. I'm not smart enough in all of that. I'm just telling you, there are economic experts of renown who are saying it's all on the verge of a financial collapse. We've got all of these September convergences coming up. Brandon, let's you and me go down the list of these convergences.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's interesting because on July the 24th, you and I were on air. That was one day after the Lafayette, Louisiana theater shooting.
Yeah.
And that was 1 month, almost to the day, after the Supreme Court ruling that issued in Sodom and Gomorrah, the spirit of Sodom and Gomorrah here in the United States.
Yeah, illegally.
And you and I said on air that we just warn people, pay attention.
Right.
Because you're going to see events like this tragedy that happened in Lafayette, Louisiana, happen more and more and more. And they're going to be more frequent as well.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that they're going to be bigger in scale, but you're going to see these things happen, happen more than they have been in the past.
Yeah.
Because
and
there's
why,
been a
and
certain
why is
amount
that?
of protection that's been lifted off of us.
Yeah.
Because we've done the very 3 things that you cannot do from the beginning of time until now and survive.
Yep.
And that is, you cannot participate in human sacrifice and sacrifice your babies to the god of Molech.
Yep.
You cannot participate and uphold and celebrate and legalize a spirit of Sodom and Gomorrah.
Right.
And you cannot turn your back and spit in the face of Israel.
Right.
Those who bless my people will be blessed. Those who curse my people will be cursed.
And I'll tell you the 4th one. You cannot teach your little children they came from monkeys and there is no God.
No, absolutely
you cannot do
not.
that.
And no.
So those 4 things, things right there, we've done for the last 100 years.
That's right. And but the bottom line is this: we said on air, just pay attention, people. Pay attention. We're not claiming to be prophets. We're not predicting anything, but pay attention.
Right.
Because these types of things, and in the last 7 days, we've had 2 police officers executed, killed, execution style.
Yeah.
We've had a third attempted murder of a police officer. That's just in the last 7 days. Just like you just pointed out, we've now got literally mass kills. We've got calls for the mass killing of white people, which is going to in turn lead to calls for the mass killing of black, brown, red, and yellow people.
Right.
It's going to. I mean, it's going to have that effect. And that's what the powers that be want. They want people to hate each other over something as trivial as the color of someone's skin.
Right.
And then, like you said, these September convergences coming together, the Shemitah cycle coming to an end. Jonathan Kahn has talked so much about that. Moving into the Jubilee year. It's just unbelievable the things that are coming together.
The blood
and
moons.
Again, the blood
the
moons.
United Nations. The Pope coming.
The Pope is coming here. The Pope is openly calling for a new world order, for a one world government.
And those are his words. That's not our words. Those are his words. And also calling for a Palestine to be formed. And I mean, we're out of time. We're out of time, Brandon. Say what you want to say, man. We got to go.
Folks, just pay attention.